Rev up your engines! Khalid says, Scotty must have Italian blood in his hand gestures. No, I don't. My wife paid to have my gene sequenced, right? The National Geo thing for Christmas. And it turns out that I'm 90-something% Germanic, all Germanic. Kilmer's a German name. My mother's maiden name was Funk. And her grandfather's name was Mueller. So I'm basically German. And if you remember anything about history, there was a famous German guy who talked with his hands, too. Not too popular these days, you know, but it gets the point out. You can tell people what's happening out there. Especially when you get mad like I do at these companies that screw everybody over making crappy products. They're not fixing them under warranty because they say, oh, the sun melted that plastic. We're not going to pay for that. Our engine's blowing up and they try to hide it and not fix them correctly. So I like to warn people about crap that's out there. So that's what I do. But I don't have any Italian blood at all. Strangely enough, I'm like 7% Asian, though. That was the oddest thing of the genome of them all. Edison Carlos says, my Toyota's 3 years old. Should I have my AC system cleaned? They removed the dashboard. It's pricey. No, don't do that. That is the stupidest thing. You're throwing your money down the toilet. The only thing that gets in there really is mold and bacteria. All you got to do is roll the windows down, put it on full blast AC, go to the front of the car, under the windshield, you see those little louvers. You can hear the air getting sucked in. That's the air intake. Spray some Lysol in there. That will get in. It will kill any of the bacteria. And then if you're one of those people that's allergic to it, which some people are, just leave it running and leave the windows rolled down overnight, and then it'll be all aired out. And if you're a real fanatic, when you have it in your garage overnight, put a little fan on the seat and point it out so it will blow it all out and you won't smell it in the morning. You don't need to take all that stuff apart. Now, if you do live somewhere where you have to park under like a pine tree with needles falling in, they can jam in there. In that case, if I were you, I'd cover the car at night so the pine needles don't get in there. If they are in there, you would have to physically take it apart because they'll jam in and they'll clog it all up. But if you got a new vehicle, realize one thing. You got a cabin air filter. So when you open the glove box, take out the cabin air filter, you'll see all the needles are stuck in there. Throw it out, put another filter. You won't get needles in the system if you have a modern car that has a cabin air filter. That will filter the needles. They'll sit there, and then you can just throw it out and put another filter in. Danny Moose says, I got an '07 Toyota Matrix, has an Evap leak. Does it affect the engine or do any harm? Well, if it's a very small evap leak, it's not going to hurt anything. If it's a really big one, the engine will run lean because it'll suck too much air and you won't have enough fuel. And you'll see it says run lean. You get a code, engine running lean, right? One of those PO codes. But if it runs fine, you don't get a code, yeah, I've seen people drive it that way for years. Now, if you live in a place where they do emissions inspecting, you can't get your car inspected. But if you live in Tennessee, Florida, some states that don't do inspections, and a lot of them are cutting them out, doesn't really matter if it runs okay. You might just get another gas cap. It could be a gas cap's worn out and they'll give you evap leak code. It's just an anti-pollution thing and it won't really hurt anything. As long as it's not a giant vacuum leak, then it will run bad. And it can get so bad that it'll idle crappy. If that's the case, you'd want to fix it and find where the leak is. Big Rafa says, Scotty, what would be the problems of daily driving an American car from the 60s or 70s? Is it viable? Am I crazy? Well, you might be crazy. I don't know. I can't say whether you're exactly crazy or not, but the problem when you get a car that old, unless it's been completely done over, crap is going to be breaking all the time. I'll give you a perfect example. Your engine, in the middle of the engine is the rear main oil seal. The transmission bolts on, covers it up. You get a car from the 60s or 70s, odds are that rear main seal, it's made out of rubber, is going to crack and leak. You get oil leaking all over the place. The only way to fix that is either pull the engine out of the car or pull the transmission off the engine, both of which are extremely expensive jobs, just to replace a $15 rubber seal. And the car's full of stuff like that. Now, if you buy one that someone has taken care of it and the frame isn't rotten, you always check those cars out first with a hammer on the frame. If they're rusted and go crunch, crunch, walk away. You don't want one with a rotten frame. But they're so old, unless they've been done all over, you're going to be nickeled and dimed to death forever because everything that's, 50 years old, things are either broken or they're going to get ready to, if they haven't been replaced and done completely over. 49er Gamer says, my daughter needs a used car. Where should I search? Their website or something? Okay, here's the problem. With the coronavirus stuff still kind of going on in our society, guess what? Cars are getting more and more expensive. The used cars are outrageously expensive. It used to be you could go to Craigslist, probably find a decent car. Now, your only hope is, ask everybody you know. Maybe a kid joined the Army, they're selling this car. Maybe an elderly couple can't drive anymore, or even worse, an elderly couple passes away, and they got a car that's got low mileage on it. And if you can find one of those low mileage old people cars, buy that. The problem is the market today. I see people pay $5,000 more for a used car than they could for that same car brand new, because they can't get the brand new one. They order it, it shows up 8 months later. The used car is there, it's for sale, and people are paying that kind of money. Sad but true. Randy Ramirez says, a lot of American cars are made like crap, but is there anything that's American made that's quality? Well, the problem is a lot of the American stuff isn't even made in America anymore. Today, I just did a video on a Ford Mustang Mach-E GT, the electric Mustang SUV. Completely made in Mexico. It's not made in the United States. Disgusting thing about it was, when I checked it out, I looked all through that vehicle, and there wasn't a single thing that said made in Mexico. It said Ford Motor Company, made by Ford Motor Company. There was no thing. You get a Toyota, it'll say made in Japan. If it's made in Japan, it'll say made in California or Indiana, wherever they're making. The Fords, they hid the fact that they're made in Mexico. Now, if you get a Ford F-150, that's still made in Detroit, yes, they can be decent vehicles. But they're trying to farm all their stuff out like everybody else's, because it's cheaper to make them in Mexico. And that's the problem. They want to pay people less. Americans can't live on that kind of small pay. I mean, in Mexico, they're paying the workers $6.85, not per hour, which would be bad enough, but for a 12-hour work week. So that's what's happening, and unfortunately, the quality is just going downhill. Willie Smith says, Scotty, you don't like Nissan, but my dad has a 2000 Nissan Frontier rear-wheel drive automatic tranny. He's the original owner, has $450K. It needs to rebuild the rear suspension for $800. What do you think? If the vehicle's not rusted out and runs good, have them fix it. Yeah, I'm not a Nissan fan, but that's two things. 2000 was the year that Renault bought Nissan and the company started to go downhill, but it didn't go downhill till the mid or late 2000s. It was still basically Nissan in 2000. And two, it's a rear-wheel drive. The problem that Nissans have with their automatic transmissions are their crappy Jatco front-wheel drive transmissions. All the cars they make practically are front-wheel drive. The rear-wheel drive trucks, their transmissions are pretty good. It's the front-wheel drive transmissions are bad. You might as well fix it. They're decent trucks. They can last a really long time. Isaac Ray says, Scotty, should I buy or lease a 2023 manual Toyota Supra? Lease it, because I always tell people, if you're going to get a BMW, they're endless money pits and they fall apart. They have horrible resale value in normal times, not in this coronavirus times, but normal times BMWs have horrendously low resale value. And realize that Toyota Supra is not a Toyota. It's a BMW Roadster by BMW. It has nothing to do with Toyota, really. So you're buying a BMW. And if you can lease one instead of buy it, you don't have to worry about the repairs. It would be a smarter move. I wouldn't get one either way. I mean, what do you want to buy one company? The other company's making, just sticking their name on it. I don't know. Toyota had some weird ideas. J.K. Turtle says, Scotty, my grandfather's 08 B4000 pickup truck parking brake is loose. It was never before. What's wrong? All right. Well, if the brakes are loose in the back, parking brake won't hold them. So you take off the back wheels and the drums and you tighten the drums. It could be that the shoes are worn, they're not touching. There's an adjustment. You can adjust it. And if it already is adjusted, it means you need new brake shoes that they're worn out. Also realize sometimes the cables stretch, and that's what? That's a 15-year-old vehicle. So the emergency cable, if you go back under that truck, you'll see there's two nuts. Loosen the one nut, then tighten the other one on the cable, and that will tighten the cable. The cable could have stretched over time, and if you tighten them and then they work, that's the cheapest fix of them all. That's often what it is on those old things. Bobby Logisly says, Scotty, I got my road test coming up. Any tips for a new driver? Read the book and do everything by the book. Don't do California stops. Don't come up to the stop sign, look, and you're still gliding and turn. Make a complete stop. Use your turn signals all the time. These people are watching everything that you do. Don't speed, but don't drive 10 miles an hour either. You drive too slow, they'll fail you too. I passed the first time, but I mean, I was driving cars when I was 12 years old in my father's gas station. I'm working on the things, right? So I already knew how to drive. By the time I was 16, it was just a matter of going out, getting the stupid test. Do it calm. Don't freak out, but go by the book during the road test. Damian Pasor says, Scotty, what's your thoughts on Jaguar E-Pace? Not much better than the regular Jaguars. Jaguar is a company that was always on the verge of bankruptcy lately. Ford bought them for a while. Then they sold them to Tata, the Indian company. Jaguar Land Rover, now it's one company, Jaguar Land Rover, and the Chinese own a certain percentage of it now. I would not buy a Jaguar. One, they're overpriced, and two, the electric stuff. The main problem with Jaguars are their electrical systems throughout history, and I worked on them in the 1960s. Throughout history, they had electrical problems. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.